Generic greetings. This is just a quick announcement to say that I am now on Patreon, or Patreon, or whichever generic pronunciation you prefer. I'm sure others are available. If you know what that is and want to check the page out, then by all means click the link in front of you now, or the one in the description, and you can have a look. And if you want to pledge while you're there, I would be most grateful and award you several generic appreciation points. If you have no idea what it is, or just want to know more, then by all means keep listening. So, Patreon is essentially a crowdfunding website, not unlike Kickstarter and a few others that exist. Essentially, it allows people like me, creators, to put up a page and give someone like yourself a opportunity to pledge to me and give me a bit of money, either via a lump sum for each individual project, or like I and most people have done, which is essentially you pledge so much per month, and it's like a per monthly thing. Now, a lot of other YouTubers have done this for quite a while, and as of late there's also been other ones popping up and whatnot, and their reasons are their own, but I want to explain why I've done this now, and in order to do that, I have to go right back to the beginning, when I first started putting videos up on YouTube, probably about, maybe 4 years ago, or something like that. Wow, it's actually been that long. It's probably, been about 3.5, 4 years, something like that. Either way, when I first started, I had no object of making any money. I had no wish and still have no desire at all to become any sort of celebrity. I just wanted to do it for a bit of a hobby and also therapy. And I thought, I'll give it a go, see where it takes me. And here we are, 4 years later. Or however long it's been. You know what I mean? It's just been quite a while since I started all those years ago. And a lot of things have changed, not just on YouTube, but personally. But the thing is, when I first started, I never ran adverts. I mean, when you first create an account, at least back in the day, you couldn't just start putting adverts on everything. But after a while, after only a couple of months, I think, I got the option to run adverts, and I didn't bother. I didn't bother for over a year, and I don't know why. There was just one day I thought, why am I not running adverts on these videos? The thing is, they're unintrusive, people are used to them, why don't I run them? And I thought, I'll make an announcement and then I'll put them on. And I actually realised a little bit later that actually that's probably a mistake. I'll just turn them on and see what happens. So I did that. I just one day turned adverts on to all the videos, just, ones before, adverts before the video, maybe a couple of mid-rolls if it was a really long one. And nobody complained. Nobody ever said anything. It was very unobtrusive. Everybody wins. I make the videos, you watch the videos, I get a bit of cash back. Job done. No harm, no foul. Everybody wins in this situation. That was quite a long ago, and things have changed. Not just on YouTube, but for me as well. And this is still like a part-time op for me, I'm not doing this, as a full-time thing, but it is good to know that I'm getting stuff back for the effort I put in, but it's a lot different now. I mean, back then you were getting decent ad revenue, but now ad revenue is pretty much in the tank, and certainly one of the lowest I've ever seen it. Also, you've got the constant threat of content ID and copyright stuff, which essentially if a car drives past your house playing a bit of music and YouTube picks 1 millisecond up of it, it will then claim your entire thing, and then someone else will monetize it, and you get nothing, even though it's a tiny bit, which is problematic, to say the very least. I'm not going to get onto that subject too much because I'll be here for another 25 minutes ranting about it. There's also the ever-present danger of the YouTube big red button. Actually, they've got several red buttons, and I think they're arranged on a whack-a-mole machine, and every single one of them says break something, and they could just whack them anytime and break something on YouTube, and it just causes so many issues. So all of that is just a massive, massive hassle. And the thing is, the way I see it, I've been doing this for over 3 years, possibly 4. I should really check before I did this video. That's how professional I am. I've made probably, I think it's close to 1,500 videos. All of them have been freely available on YouTube, and nothing's ever been hidden behind a paywall or gated. I've never done any sort of sponsorship, whether it be covertly back in the day where a lot of people would not really properly announce which ones they were sponsored for, which is, well, you could say whatever you want about it, but it was a bit of a scumbag thing to do. Either way, I've never done one of those. I've never done a proper sponsored bit of content where it's essentially you announce right at the start to say that this video is directly sponsored by so-and-so, etc., etc. In fact, I have no problems with those sort of videos. I have no problem with sponsorship that's clearly communicated to the viewer and point out from day one that, look, this is a sponsored video, they've paid for this, etc. I don't have any problem with that as long as it's properly communicated. But either way, I've never done any one of those, and I have had the opportunity to do them. I've just never taken them up on it. Obviously my choice, but I've still never done that. And also, I've never taken so much as a single penny, a single dime, a single generic unit of currency for any video that I've ever done. So, essentially, I've run ads on the videos. That's pretty much it. There's nothing really else to say about that one. Obviously, this has all been my choice, so I'm not blaming anyone. I'm certainly not trying to make excuses for anything, etc. I just want to explain the situation. While we're on it, if you're interested in exactly how I go about doing this, just for the sake of full disclosure, I see a game that I think is either going to make an entertaining video or that I want to feature. If I don't already own it, I will either buy it or most likely contact the developers and say, hey, do you have a key for review purposes? They give me said key, I play the game, I do the video. That's where the relationship starts and ends, and that's generally classed as standard procedure anyway. So the way I see it, everything's pretty much above board. In fact, it is above board. Why am I saying pretty much? I've done nothing wrong. I always feel guilty for doing certain things. I'm sure someone will accuse me for being a scumbag, and they often do. But either way, let's just get all that out in the open while we're here. So, back to Patreon. The page is already and set up. Links in the description, as I've mentioned, unless you're listening to this 10 years out from now, and then maybe we've killed each other with nuclear weapons. But assuming it is still up, the pledges and everything are all on there, all of the different tiers. Essentially, everybody gets the same thing. I didn't want to put things behind a paywall, anything like that. You get all the same thing regardless of what level you pledge at, whether it be 1 generic units of currency up to 10 bazillion generic units of currency, although I wouldn't recommend that high amount. But in all honesty, I would be genuinely appreciative of any amount that you are willing to give. It's very humbling and kind that anyone is actually willing just to give a random stranger on the internet any amount of real money. So, thank you if you're even thinking of doing that. But either way, you get access to the same thing. It's the Patreon feed full of news. I'll be posting different news about the channel and random updates and other assorted generic ramblings, not just about YouTube, but life as well, and just other different things. Also, I'll be doing surveys and polls and Q&A sessions because I'm not... Sessions, Mr. Bond, about talking like Sean Connery, sweaty bollocks. Either way, I'll be doing different Q&A sessions on there, and also doing like direct chat if people want to ask me questions, things like that. It's all on there as well. So it allows you to communicate a little bit more direct than YouTube will allow, because I know people... do some times like to have that. There's also some goals on there which they're going to range, actually, going to be all over the place, really. It'll depend on timing and what the current pledge amount is, the overall pledge amount, should I say, as well as just generally what I and other people think is a good goal for myself and the channel. It could be things like extra videos, getting a piece of equipment, or expanding into different areas, things like that. I should have to point now, though, that any video produced will not be exclusive for the Patreon backers. I still do not wish for any video to be pay-to-view or gated or blocked in any way, shape or form. The difference is that those videos will still be freely available on YouTube for everybody, but they will be directly attributed to the Patreon backers and credited as such. I think that's the probably the fairest way of going about things, but as I said, these things can and probably will change while things sort of settle. Either way, I don't think there is much more to say. In summary, if you wish to give me some generic units of currency, then by all means, links are in the description, as I said, for my Patreon page, regardless of how small or large that sum may be. I am very appreciative for it, and if you don't really want to bother, then that's completely up to you. I really can't force your hand either way. Or can I? No, I can't do that. I can't. If I could do that, I'd probably be a millionaire. I mean, I'm not saying you're a millionaire. Your funds are obviously of private record, but I'm saying that if I did have mind control abilities and could force people to give me money, then I'd be very rich. But that would obviously assume that I'm using my powers for evil rather than good, and the fact that I'm questioning which way I would go is probably more comment on me than yourself. I'm not really selling this thing, am I? Anyway. Either way, if you wish to do all that, links in the description, as I've said several times now. What I should point out is that the channel will not be changing, like as in it won't be going down. Video production will not be going down. I'll still be producing the same amount of videos that I always have done, or at least as much as I can manage, which is essentially about 6+ per week, 1 a day, and all of that released at 5 PM GMT, just in case you couldn't read the About page, and it will only go up based on the Patreon support. It'll also allow me to take a little bit more risks. So So, for example, I've always wanted to do a series where I wander into a charity shop, pick up the first game that I see off the shelf, bring it back, and go through the entire process of installing it, getting it to work, playing it through blindly, and going through the full process. I think that would be an interesting thing to do. I've just never been able to take the risk because I know that those sort of videos, I know people would probably like to see them, but it wouldn't be that, it would be quite niche and wouldn't just net me much in terms of material gain back, which is sad. The same as like some series I would love to do, full construction series on small niche games, but I know that just won't receive the views that like something like a bigger game would. So it will allow me to take a little bit more risk and also be a little bit more experimental in certain things. Anyway, I think I have rambled on for far too long. You're probably sick of this, although, to be fair, if you're listening to this now, then you've either skipped ahead or you have enjoyed it, so that's all good, I guess. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you again. If you choose to actually support me on Patreon, I will obviously speak to you in there if that's something you choose to do. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and generic partings.